live episode of Hear No Evil, the Hear No Evil podcast with, I'm Chris Copeland, my co-host.
Justin McGill.
And we're going to be with you for the next hour. So we know a few of you guys have been following along with our, oh man, it's been
our many of dry runs.
A multitude of dry runs. We've done like 10, 11.
10 or 11.
I lost count.
Yeah.
I still say we needed the board. It would have been so much better if Brian was up here, like Hear No Evil podcast.
Smacking his hands together.
There you go. Just like you said, I'm just gonna write it on there and come up. Hear No Evil podcast. Take 10. There we go. And just a quick shout out again to our cameraman who has donated his time to be here and for the last few weeks to go through this. So, Bri. It's at Brian Bokeh. Bokeh. Not like a bouquet, but bokeh. It's a Japanese term. It's Bokeh, I believe. So Brian is spelled Bryan. So that's at Brian Bokeh at Twitter. So he's got some good stuff. Really good photographer, and we're lucky to have him here. So, and I'm sure he'll have some smart-ass comments to make in the background as we go. But what's more important than that is we're simulcasting right now.
We are.
Where are we going?
We're on Twitter and YouTube right now, and hopefully in the future we'll be on Facebook.
Right.
We'll get that figured out.
And he is actually, we've got all your comments filtering in to Brian. So if you have any comments about what's going on, like we said, this is our first time out. So we don't even have a green screen. We're not going to have video for you or anything. It's just going to be our charm that's going to get us through this. So, and if you ask my wife, it doesn't get me very far.
My wife doesn't have to answer that question.
No. We know what she has to say. So on this installment, we're going to get you guys caught up and why exactly we have decided to transition from our audio-based podcast, again, Hear No Evil at hearnoevilpodcast.com or Hear No Evil Pod on Twitter.
And on Instagram, and then it's just Facebook/Hear No Evil Podcast.
So we're transferring over or transitioning into doing more video with this being our first official run because a few weeks ago on the podcast, we talked about Mukbang. We did a whole episode just for our Korean listeners because oddly we've got this South Korean fan base out there.
We have a few people out there listening to us.
Yeah, so we've got people in the U.S., but we actually have a bigger fan base outside of the country.
Mexico, I think we talked about this last time we did a little dry run.
Yeah.
Mexico is still our largest listening base, and it's still growing slowly but surely. And the U.S. is catching up, but we're almost 50% more in Mexico than anywhere else.
And then we've got the Korean fans, and we had the Olympics going on at the time. So
we did.
And I'm a huge Winter Olympic fan, so we did one just on the Winter Olympics, and then Mukbang, which is live stream eating. And Justin was perplexed.
I don't understand the concept of having people watch you eat and then getting paid from the views that you get. So like
tens of thousands
of dollars. So like if you have like 12 million views on one video, you're banking on stuff in your face.
Just to eat.
And
they make some odd noises while they're doing it. It's very animated.
I make odd noises.
Yeah, like when we're not talking about burping while you're watching the Golden Girls and eating your jumburrito, but
don't talk like that.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, we are not sponsored. We've been doing these dry runs for hours. I needed something to eat. We got some drinks going on here. So we are not sponsored, right?
We're not sponsored by Jumburito.
By Jumburito. But we would be.
We would like to be.
Especially for this mukbang, because mukbang is kind of a weird concept. You know, I mean, you just do this live eating, and they get all kinds of food. I mean, like because it's in South Korea, you got a lot of obviously like noodles and
meats and vegetables and all the sides and sauces, and maybe one glass of water.
Right.
But they're in like this whole table full of food.
Oh, it's a buffet. It's a buffet they put before. And just people chime in, and we've noticed that there are some people in the U.S. that do this, but they tend to be sponsored by.
Yeah, it's not as intimate.
No,
I think that's the right word. It's not as intimate. I mean, they have like Taco Bell Mukbang Day and Burger King, and it's like me and my best friend, or they'll have one where it's see how much hot stuff I can eat, stuff like that. It's just not kind of the.
And that's the whole point to the South Koreans is they wanted an intimacy. They wanted somebody that they could get their own food if they were like living alone, like a single person in the city that they could kind of sit and eat with.
Right.
But here it just tends to be like a gluttonous challenge.
Yeah.
So not quite as entertaining, and it's see who we can get to sponsor us. Not that we wouldn't want to sponsor, but we're not really going that direction. We've already established in previous episodes that Justin has no problem if Schlotsky's wanted to step up to bat.
Anytime you want to do it, guys, I'm ready.
That big old smile on your face. So, so anything else that we want to cover on Mukbang before we move on?
Just at the video, we will be live streaming that one, and it should be coming hopefully soon. We got to get the menu settled. Once we get that settled, then,
right?
I mean, that's the big thing,
right?
What do we put in our mouths? So.
I know, and that's the question. Like, because we've got the studio here, but I don't know if they're gonna let us
Probably
bring
not.
food in. I'm thinking we're gonna sneak it in.
Are we revealing the secret now?
Nobody here is watching this, so yeah.
You never know.
I'm thinking that green screen over there. I'm thinking we're gonna hide it
here.
We're gonna close the cover the door, the glass door here, and we're just gonna bring in
We're gonna smuggle in our
meats
suitcase worth of food.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, our friend John, he has already offered to make us a brisket.
Ooh.
So I think it was brisket that he said he was gonna do, but he's killer smoker. He's like, just let me know. I got to know at least a day or two in advance. So.
Okay.
So that'll be at least one thing. And then I'm like, we're in Texas. We're not really getting a lot of high quality Asian food down here. So it's kind of hard to do a mukbang. We're going to have to go to the mall, go to the food court, get some noodles.
Even that's not, traditional.
No, it's not. No, General Tao's chicken. I don't think that's going to, so beef and broccoli. Maybe. We could go to Quo's. Quo's is legit.
Or I have a special place we can probably order from.
You have a special place? Yeah. Is this like on Amazon? You've got are you special ordering your
my dash
your
button,
Thai
egg
food?
Rolls, noodles, fried rice,
crab rangoon.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so Americanized, but I love it. So, but and this episode is actually really open. We normally have like one or at least usually two topics that we want to get into. We want to put a Christian slant on them, and I say slant and not spin, because we are not trying to force things into Christian topics. We just want to talk about things like from our Christian point of view.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times that's just being people. We don't have to bring out the Bible for it. We just talk about we've got an episode that's going to be coming out later tonight that I'm going to be posting right after this, and we talk about cloning, and we talk about medical research and extending the human life. Chip implants, nanites in the blood.
Bionic body pieces.
Bionic body pieces. Yeah, you brought that up. I don't know why you decided that you wanted to be cyborg all of a sudden. But then
Brian likes it.
Brian likes the idea.
He likes that idea.
So what I don't like about the whole cyborg type thing that you're talking about is like you were putting it in this concept where like you lose a hand and you end up being kind of like Luke Skywalker. You've got
even better.
Now you replace it with a bionic hand.
Right.
You know how many people would be chopping off their own arms if they thought they could get a bionic arm?
Hey, if it works. If we all get the Force, why not?
Not if we all have the Force. So I don't think that gave him the Force.
That's not what gave him the Force.
There's a Star Wars junkie out there right now that just called you, just red flag.
Go for it. I'm just do it. Correct me.
Please do. Just like we said, we got them up on your chat is up and live. So if you have anything to say, you got a comment, let us know, and we'll if it's worthy. Brian is he's checking all platforms.
So
right
make
now.
sure they're nice because Jesus is watching.
He's always watching. So here's the thing. We're not on Facebook right now. We're not, and we should have. We should have gotten out one of our phones, gone live. And I feel bad. I'm sorry to our Facebook followers because we got a really, really healthy fan base.
We do
on Facebook right now. So, and but we are trying to jump up our Twitter and our Instagram. This is just all part of having a podcast. You got to see social media wise and what kind of quality of content you're putting out. Who's listening? Who are you reaching? And are you entertaining? Are you putting on a show? Are you doing something good for them? So, and it's all things we've been juggling over the last couple of years. And so hopefully this is all going to come to fruition here through the videos. What do you think?
I feel like this is the start of a longer journey, and I'm excited about all this. I mean, it's been going faster than it ever has been before.
Yep.
So like Chris said, we've had the podcast really for about 2 years. We were slow to start with some episodes.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a couple of technical difficulties where some episodes didn't work out like we wanted to. But I feel like now, 2018, the goal was to have steady consistency and good content, and I think we're still on the right foot. So
Oh yeah.
I'm excited.
Oh,
Good
I am
things
too.
to come.
So let's just talk about a couple subjects that we thought maybe something we could throw out there. And again, if you want to comment on it and you want to say, hey, let's talk about this, why not? This is a free episode. So we don't have our strict, these are our 2 topics, and we're sticking to that today. We're going to have fun with this. So one thing that we were talking about was we while we were doing all these tests, we're talking about video games, we're talking about movies. What Brian's smiling.
Don't say I don't love you, Justin. I downloaded Twitter for you.
Aw, thanks,
Oh,
love.
his wife
Thank you.
chimed in.
Aw.
Look at that. Don't say I don't love you. Thanks for watching.
Yes,
Monse.
thanks, love. Thanks for watching.
So, and again, if you want to, is she actually following us or is she just watching?
No, she's following us.
Is she?
Mhm.
Is she? Well, I could just see Monse doing that. Like, I'm going to follow you, but I'm not going to like you.
Once I listen to the podcast, I mean, like I listen to them every day at work. You know, not I listen to ours when it comes out, but like I listen to other podcasts, obviously.
Right.
And Monse is more of like a on the go when she has the time. You know, so you know we caught her a little bit. She said that she was listening to us, but we found out that she was not.
Yeah.
Found out.
You got busted, girl.
You got busted
Hardcore.
because
Now, I don't
we
know
were
if
asking you
she's-
questions about like, oh, did you hear about that? Oh yeah, I did.
Mm-hmm.
But then you were like all out of order on episodes, so we're like, well, how did you hear about that if you didn't hear the other one?
Right.
Busted
She
right
had
there.
no idea. She had no idea about our callback jokes or
No.
anything like that.
But she caught up. I think she's caught up, and so she's good.
And then like Ashley, like my wife, she listens, but it takes her a little bit of time because she's like a very dedicated listener to whatever podcast she's listening to.
Right.
She'll listen to it intently, like on her way to work. Then she won't like just have it going in her headphones at work. It's not white noise to her. She will listen to every second. So sometimes it takes a little while for her to catch
And
up.
I think 2 hours is a little different because I know like once it listens to like there's a history podcast called The Dollop, and there's like My Favorite Murder and some other popular ones out there.
Right.
And we're a little bit different. So I think, you know, maybe for us, and plus, you know, I live with her and
Right.
she sees this all the time. So maybe she's just
Yeah.
more prone to us.
She
It's
doesn't care.
This is talk.
She doesn't
But
care.
I appreciate her listening, and I love you,
Yeah.
love.
It's like Jada Pinkett Smith. She wasn't watching iRobot. She don't care. She sees Will Smith every single day.
Right.
So, and yes, I did just compare us to Will Smith. So I'll take.
Ooh.
Yeah, why not?
Getting
So-
jiggy with it.
So talking about that, we've got other podcasts. I think this would be something to hit on. Your top podcast.
My top podcast. So
If you're not here listening to Hear No Evil and working on Hear No Evil, what are you listening to?
I listen to on the daily. I listen to Jarrett Goes to the Movies.
Okay.
So Jarrett Reddick from Bowling for Soup
Mm-hmm.
has a podcast, and actually one of my coworkers that I work with in my full-time job, he's actually neighbors with Jarrett Reddick, and he's actually on that podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I like listening to that just so I can. And what's funny is like, you know, I see this guy every now and then when he comes to visit this office because he works remotely from Dallas, but you see him in person and then you hear him on the podcast. It's like night and day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know it's the same person, obviously, but he just doesn't obviously share that part of himself.
Right.
Just like I wouldn't share everything about what we do on this podcast with
right.
my personality, because some people may like it or don't like it. But I really enjoy that one. And then I listen to The Dollop, which is a history podcast. And then I listen to My Favorite Murder.
Yeah.
And I listen to a couple other ones, but those are like the main 3.
I'm never, and I'm not a huge fan of the Dollop. I didn't get in. I tried going from the beginning, and I wasn't getting into their early episodes. But
No.
maybe I need to go back and give it a try because you keep saying
They,
the later episodes are better. And
oh yeah,
I see our podcast, and I go back and see some of our earlier episodes, and I'm like, yeah, I got to give them the benefit of the
Kinda
doubt because it
cringe,
takes some time. Yeah.
but they did a Donald Trump one, a 2-parter, and they were long, but it was really interesting stuff.
Was it really?
It's all stuff based on U.S. history that you would never know about, but they're all usually true, factual stories
Right. That actually happened.
that actually happened. But I like. I mean, and I know. What was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. It happens, guys.
Yeah,
it
it
happens. Anyways,
But
come back to me.
so I got to check out the Dollop. I love the Murderino. I love
My favorite murder.
My Favorite Murder. I love
It's so
those chicks.
weird that I like it too. I'm like, I like listening about murder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what does
Yeah.
that say about me?
Yeah, it means you're twisted.
I know.
We're all a little sick. We have a fascination with the macabre. You know, with anything that's almost evil.
I have to say, I was reading an article, I think yesterday, or you might have even. I'm pointing to Brian, by the way. Sorry,
According to Brian, our
he's behind the
cameraman.
camera. Didn't you retweet something about O.J. Simpson? Was that you?
Yeah, that he
I read it before you did it, but like they have a documentary that was in like in 2006 or 5, I believe. It was supposed to be incorporated with some type of book release.
Okay.
That Fox News did, but he actually confesses to the murders, and they've been holding it this whole time. Like
he
not
actually
really
confessed to him.
He confesses to the murders. Like
I remember he did that book in that video, like why he couldn't have done it.
right.
But
It was about that same time. It was around the same time frame, but this has never been released. This
Right.
video.
I guess that's weird that they would hold on to something.
I mean,
like
they can't do anything about it now, but I'm just thinking,
Right.
why?
I'd like to actually
Right.
see that. I'd like to actually see that, or if it was just like, well, he almost implies it, or if he actually says it. You
Well,
know?
he plays around with it. I remember some of
Yeah.
those interviews. He's just kind of like,
Yeah, he's kind of joking.
maybe I
about
did
at
it,
this
or
point.
I don't know.
It's
What
double
if I
jeopardy.
did it?
He can't go back to jail. He can't go to jail for it at all. He can't be convicted of it. So he's already paid out like everything he's ever made through civil cases. So I like My Favorite Murder. We are fascinated with this kind of stuff. I don't know why we're fascinated with murderers, but I mean, look at CSI. Look at all the major documentary shows that are on. They're all about like serial killers, things like that. Yeah. So then, my all-time favorite, is called 99% Invisible, and they just talk about design. I mean, they were like, I was listening to this one. They were just talking about this skyscraper in New York that one corner of the building was designed wrong, and so all it took was like a small earthquake, and the whole thing could have just come down and taken out like 3 square blocks.
Where was this at?
What,
Did you say
the building?
Yeah.
Was in New York, New York City.
Okay.
So, and then they had another one. I think my favorite one they ever did was an episode about this phone booth in the Mojave Desert, out in the middle of nowhere.
I listened to that one.
Loved that episode. That was maybe one of my favorite episodes of any podcast ever. If I was like going into the top 10, they may get my number 1 favorite from that.
I think you recommended that one when we first were going to do the podcast. You were telling me to like, because I didn't really listen to podcasts at the time. So Chris was trying to throw all these like, listen to this, try this, blah, blah, blah. And I think at the time my wife was starting to listen to my favorite murder was just about to start coming out and being popular. And then,
well, they had been around for a number of years. They were just really hitting their stride as far as, really big time.
But I remember listening to the phone booth one. And I think there was one about fortune cookies that I thought was really interesting.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, because if you didn't know, they're not made in China, and they're made here in the U.S. I think in New Jersey or something like that.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the guy that writes the fortunes or comes up with the fortunes or something like that.
Yeah, you're not ordering fortune cookies from Hong Kong or anything. If you're ordering fortune cookies from Hong Kong, something's wrong.
You're overpaying.
Yeah, I know, right? Something's seriously wrong. So, but 99% Invisible, absolutely my favorite of all time. What do you listen? Do you listen to one, Brian?
Aside from us.
Aside from Hear No Evil. If you want to say Hear No Evil is your favorite podcast of all time, I have no problem with that, right?
He's like, nah, I don't really listen to you guys.
Right? So, and that's why we have Brian, is because Brian doesn't listen so much on the audio side, but he was like, you guys really got to get into video. So, and here we are. It was only a year later after talking about this for so long that we finally made it. So
finally pulled the trigger.
So we've got a couple other things. Like I said, we're just doing loose topics today. So we've got some podcasts out of the way. We're in that time of year. We just moved over. We just hit our daylight savings. Well, we gained an hour. So yeah, I know. You don't like that? It's my favorite time of year, man.
I want the extra sleep.
Really?
For my friends out there and my wife, they know I love to sleep.
You can still get the extra sleep. It just is going to be during the daylight. No, you have nothing. No. I love it. My favorite time of year is when we get to where it's dark and it's not even dark yet and it's almost 10 o'clock. I love that. Gives me more time to play. Otherwise, I'm just at work all day and then go and work on the podcast for a couple hours. Next thing you know,
it's dark.
It's totally dark.
The one time I didn't like about that was like around 4th of July because I remember you had to wait longer to pop fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one time I liked that.
What's more depressing than getting up and going to work when it's dark and leaving when it's dark?
True.
You just lost the whole day. I would be happier.
I'll give you that.
I'm about to move to like Arizona or somewhere they don't have it, where it's just like where you don't need it because of the winter time.
Right.
So you just have long days.
So I guess you're gonna live in Alaska then. No Alaska for you?
No. Well, I mean Alaska where it's like 30 days of night. No, I don't.
No, nothing like that.
No. Now we know you would. We know you obviously like to You know,
I love the cold.
yeah, you like to get your.
I'll move there by myself though, evidently, because my wife would not follow me. She
He's
doesn't
like
like the cold.
polar bear. He would just go up there and hibernate. So right.
And now y'all can see my facial expressions and stuff. Before, like, Chris was talking about him, so
Absolutely. So we've got spring is here. It's upon us, and we've got a lot of things going on. We've moved past the Winter Olympics.
we did.
Now we've got what's funny is now a lot of new shows. You know, we got a lot of new movies coming out that are going to be hitting for the spring and the summer. Any new shows that are rebooting this year that are coming out with new episodes, new seasons for the summertime that usually hit in the spring and the summer that you like to watch?
Well, not really. I usually on the summertime I try to catch up on old shows I didn't have a chance to watch. So like my wife and I like to watch Game of Thrones and Doctor Who. So
Oh yeah, you guys are Doctor Who junkies.
we are,
aren't you?
we are.
So nothing coming out right now. Like Jessica Jones just.
I haven't caught up
released.
on any of them.
Are you serious?
I am still on season 1 of Daredevil. I know. I can hear
Oh
your cries
my
from this.
God.
I just I don't have enough time. Like
That's it, Brian. Just shut this.
I know he's saying cut, cut. But I want to watch them like that and Luke Cage and the Defenders.
You haven't
I guess.
watched any of that stuff,
I haven't had a chance to watch any, which I'm okay with though because it's there when I need it.
right?
When I want to watch something, I'll have it.
You obviously haven't needed it though.
No, because I mean, by the time I get ready
So
to start
for you-
watching those, I get to get back. You know, my other shows start coming back on.
So it's not a priority for you to watch those shows.
no,
I figured you would. You like the Marvel universe.
I do, but I haven't caught up. I know. I hate to say this. I really like Marvel, but I really like DC better. I love Batman. I love Superman, but
Oh,
the
you're
Flash
right,
is
that's
my
right.
favorite superhero, and I am so behind on the Flash.
Right. On the TV show.
And I'm ashamed to say it because my sister-in-law, she's always asking me, and I hate to look her in the eye and it's like I'm not caught up. I'm just not.
And you've got Flash everything. And
I have
you're
Flash
not even
everything.
watching the show. What do you think of the what do you think about the difference between the television Flash that they have right now and the Justice League movie Flash that they've released?
So Grant Gustin is the one that plays the TV Flash, and then we have Ezra Miller that plays the Justice League one
In the movie.
in the movie.
Yeah.
And at first, I didn't think I was gonna like him, but I like him. He adds. I think for those of y'all that don't know about the Flash, aside from his super speed, is his overall character. He kind of reminds me of like a Deadpool, like a PG-13 version of Deadpool.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is,
I
like-
never have seen this.
Well, like because Barry Allen.
Somebody's about to say something. Somebody's about to complain. Very
Barry
quickly.
Allen is usually like he's a smart aleck. Like he's
Yeah.
always cracking jokes about stuff like either just whether he's in battle, not in battle. And so he reminds me a lot of the Ryan Reynolds kind of Deadpool character, just not in a vulgar way.
Okay.
I don't mean like he's a mercenary killer and just like kills people for fun. I mean like he has that same kind of sense of humor.
Right. With the
So-
okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's what I'm saying. So I mean that's what I like. kinda
Okay.
About that.
So, but I mean, like from a standpoint of watching it, which one do you like better? Do you like the television show version, or do you like the one in the movie? Were you upset that they didn't use the guy from the TV show and put him in the movie?
I mean,
Especially since they're coming out.
I like the idea of
simultaneously?
consistency. I think it's good when you can have it on both.
Mhm.
I understand why they don't do that.
Right.
But if I don't know, it's such a hard thing because I feel like they're humorous in the show, but it's a different environment with all the other characters that they have to do on a daily, on,
Right.
on the arcs and stuff. But I guess I'd go with the movie Flash.
With the movie Flash.
Yeah, I mean I like Grant Gustin and I like the Flash TV show, but I just like the way they stay more true to the character,
Mm-hmm.
personality wise.
I don't know. I like the TV show version a little bit better. I rewatched Justice League the other day, and I think I gave the Flash a little too hard of a time when it first came out. I was a little critical of it, but they really didn't make him out to be that genius level that he was supposed to be. They kind of made him out to be more of a bumbling idiot in the movie, and
can see that.
so I didn't like that. From that, I didn't like that for you as being a Flash fan. You know?
And I know he's not blonde haired. I know a lot of people had a big deal about that, but I mean,
who
it doesn't
cares?
really matter about the hair color or if he was black, Asian. I wouldn't have cared.
Right. Yeah.
As long as he can embody the character, that's all I really care about.
Right. So, and then, but here's the problem, and you're probably going to hate me for this. You probably will. I don't like CW shows.
That's
I
fine.
really don't. And I think it's like every channel that puts out a lot of different TV shows, you can tell that they use the same directing team, you
Mhm.
know, same
Production.
writers, yes. Smallville. Man,
I wasn't a fan of Smallville.
no, I was not either. I couldn't get into it. Like, I got into it for the first few seasons, and then I just got bored. It just the problem with CW, or back then, I'm sorry, it was the WB.
The WB.
Yeah, so
With the frog.
The WB, yeah, the WB was. It's the same channel. It's the same writers, same everything, and they try to stretch these shows that they could give you like a solid outing in like 12 episodes, and they try to give you like 30 episodes.
Oh yeah,
you know, and it's just to put out more stuff and get more advertisements, and I felt it was just stretched so thin. And then they brought out the Arrow. So first was Smallville. Superman. I never saw Superman fly in that. And I tried watching that thing for like 4 or 5.
Well, it wasn't
seasons.
it was about him as Clark. So I mean, that was kind of the whole premise.
Right, but he was becoming
Superman,
this Superman,
yeah.
and he was gaining these powers. And I was just like, I just want to see the kid fly. I want to see the kid beat some people up. And then whatever happened with their thing with Lex Luthor dies. You know, he just disappears. You can't have Superman without Lex Luthor. That just doesn't even make sense to me. You know, it really doesn't. I mean,
and we can get this like another episode of the podcast, but
now I'm gonna complain now.
It's too much of a thing to get into. But and DC and I think Marvel too, they have these things like different versions of Earth.
Yes.
So then that could always be one of the theories with Smallville. Like it's not
quite the same one.
Not quite the same.
Gotcha. So then they have like Arrow.
Right.
Can't stand that show. I just don't. I can't get into it.
I still think he was that popular enough to have his own show.
Right.
And I still think there's enough content there to support his own show. But I mean, what is his first name? I don't know. Amel. I know his last name. Anyways, I like the show. I just I'm not familiar with those kind of characters to be committed every week.
Right. And one thing that I really liked about like the Marvel universe that they're doing in Netflix is that they're keeping it all on Netflix, and so they're not like branching out. And then now you've got like all this DC stuff going on like the CW, and then you've got Supergirl over on ABC.
No, Supergirl is on. I think it was on CBS for a season, and then which I think the CW and CBS have a partnership.
They do,
and then I think they moved it to CW.
Oh,
because it wasn't strong enough to sustain.
So it wasn't that great of a show, so probably the same production.
But since it moved over to CW, it's better because they do like a lot of crossovers with the Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow, and I think they have another one, Black Lightning. Is the
Legends of Tomorrow the one that has Cyborg in it? Is it Cyborg, or is there like a character kind of?
No, that's like with some of the villains are in that one.
Gotcha.
Like Mr. Cold, whatever his name is, Captain Cold from The Flash. He was in it for a little while. The guy from Prison Break, and yeah.
But everybody's trying to get in on this. Even like Hulu has like, was it The Runaways? And I think
I haven't watched any of those yet. Marvel has one that's for the X-Men, Gifted, I think is what it's called.
Oh, is that what it is?
That one's based on X-Men.
Gotcha.
And then ABC still has Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
And they had Agent Carter, which was they canceled that. No. And I didn't like the Inhumans. I don't know if you ever watched that one, Brian.
No, I've seen the previews for it. No,
it was too. It reminded me of the stuff I'd watched from the 90s. It was too fake looking.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, they could have done better.
And I didn't mind Agent Carter. I thought it was halfway decent.
I didn't get to watch all the time, but the episodes I watched, I liked it. It was a nice little. I liked the retro feel of it.
Yeah, I liked the characters. I did.
And what I liked about those two shows, that and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., is that they were able to incorporate those into the movies.
Right.
Obviously, the agent himself, and then Agent Carter and Captain America, and
I think that's why I liked it so much was because I thought Captain America, just the original Captain America movie, was probably my favorite origin movie ever.
That they've done.
Yes, from all the Marvels, from all the Marvel movies, Captain America was it for me. So I mean, just from an acting and a writing standpoint, and how much they got in there without diluting the story, and how captivating the story is. It's almost believable the way that they put it together. So
you didn't like Black Panther?
I have issues with Black Panther. I have some serious issues with Black Panther.
And I have to do this for my wife because she's watching like For Wakanda.
For Wakanda.
For Wakanda.
Yes, I would be considered a colonist. is what would be going on. So
I thought that was really good. I mean, a lot of the Marvel characters aren't that. Like Iron Man, I feel like when they brought him about, not a lot of people they may have known about him, but he wasn't like a strong character. Like people know about the X-Men and Spider-Man; those were always the same ones. But Black Panther is one of those characters. He's just like a side character that's becoming, so.
Oh, absolutely. And obviously, it garnered a lot of interest because it's become the number one selling.
Yeah, it's already passed $1 billion, and I think it's the fourth largest grossing film of all time.
It's up there with the Avengers.
It's with Titanic.
Oh my! It's Titanic level, huh?
It's at Titanic level.
Oh my god! So they better get the second one right, or that thing's gonna sink quick.
They're trying to get rid of Leo.
Yeah, is that
trying to push him off. He already died once. They're trying to get him off the boat a second time.
Get him off the board. Get him off the
iceberg known as Black Panther.
Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of Black Panther. I liked it. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was one of the highest grossing films of all time good. I thought it was okay. I don't think it was in my top 5 for the in the Marvel universe for movies. I mean, so many better ones.
I think for you not knowing who he was, with all the characters they threw in there, my real thing is like leveling out humor with the action. I don't tend to like dark too much.
Yeah.
I mean, I like The Matrix and stuff like that, which is super, on one side. But I thought it was a really good balance and did a good job of explaining his story and how he became Black Panther and all that kind of stuff. So I thought it, for what it was given, and the amount of time it was given,
right, for
the purpose of getting us from, his introduction into the, Civil War,
right,
over to Infinity War. I think they were spot on.
Oh, I thought it was. I didn't say it was a bad movie.
No. I just mean like for it to be able to earning all the attention and stuff it's getting. I feel like that's it just was good placement and good acting and
the timing was right.
Timing was right.
I think it was just a little too political for me at the time.
Yeah, you told me that, and I
really do. I think it was kind of divisive. I think it was kind of divisive. So.
But I think if we were to look at it from on the opposite side, and we're obviously talking about in Black Panther how it's very, was it Afrocentric? Is that what they're calling it?
I don't know.
There's a lot of words they're using.
I don't use that term.
But I think that's what they're saying. It's allowing African Americans to take pride in the African roots that the movie shows, and I'm all for that.
Absolutely.
And I think if it were the other way around, which as white guys we don't have a hard time finding our history roots or anywhere, but.
No.
But if it had, what I'm saying, if it had been flipped, and we had a large, strong, if it was, us taking pride in that kind of stuff,
that movie would have been banned.
Well, true, but it would have been the same way. Is what I'm trying to say. Like it would have been getting the same kind of attention for what I think you're trying to say.
Yeah, no, they would have taken that and Trump and thrown them onto the Titanic and sunk the thing with one of Lil Kim's nukes. Okay, so Kim. You can't spin that around like that.
And when we're saying Little Kim, as in Kim Jong-un, not Little Kim the rapper.
We talk about Lil Kim.
Yeah, we call him Little Kim.
Absolutely. So, okay, so we got Black Panther. What else do we got coming out?
Well, what I'm excited about for TV show wise is they're rebooting all my favorite shows from the 90s.
From the 90s.
So like Roseanne's coming back.
Oh, God.
Oh, I loved Roseanne. Loved it.
Why do you like all these like
you
like Roseanne?
Hold on. Roseanne is good because
this is the guy that watches the Golden Girls on an endless loop.
Speaking of, once they called out on that,
yeah.
He's the one who watches Golden Girls reruns all year.
Mm-hmm.
What is wrong with that? And yes, I own the whole series, and I'm proud to say I don't care.
This is the guy I told him
you watch it first before you judge me.
Magazine, and he went nuts. He was like, "They got a Golden Girls magazine? Are you serious?"
It's a coloring book.
It's not a coloring book. It's a magazine.
Like I can subscribe to?
It's a magazine. Man.
Heard it first on Hear No Evil.
See that? I can subscribe to that. I'm trying. And if you go back and watch our episode called Betty White's Frozen Head, which yes, there is an episode called Betty White's Frozen Head.
Yeah.
We talk about that because he decides that it would be good for. I don't know what your reasoning was.
I don't remember why it was good reasoning, but nonetheless,
he wants when she dies to freeze her head before she's completely dead, so he can bring her back later on.
Yeah.
So
her body may have passed, but her brain is all intact.
And all I see is like Justin having her head like in Futurama, like on the mantelpiece, and just talks to her every once in a while and gets her advice on stuff,
Yes, I didn't think about that.
Right, the Head Museum.
Didn't think about that.
Featuring Betty White. Yep.
But I like that they're bringing like all these shows back. Like they had Roseanne's coming back, and then they had like Fuller House, and then they've had a couple other ones. Oh, like Will and Grace is back. I liked Will and Grace.
Right.
There's a couple other ones that are back. I'm glad to see they're.
I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of the Will and Grace coming back, and what's funny is it came back, but it hasn't gotten made as big of a splash as I thought it was going to.
Well, they're already doing 2 seasons of it, so we're still on the season
The first season of it, yeah.
9 or whatever we are on it. So I mean, it's gonna come back again next year. So
Right. Well, and I thought it was great because I did like Will and Grace. I really loved that show. It was really funny at the time. And then I was reading this article with Deborah Messing. Is that her name? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
she plays Grace.
So Deborah Messing just started really rubbing me the wrong way. Like, seriously. And I always loved her. But I'm sorry, Deborah, you're dropping the ball. You're killing it for me here. Every time she talks in front of the media, it just...
Well, they're
Oh
getting
my God.
everything's getting too political.
It is. And then she was like doing, and I was reading this thing, I don't remember what article, but it was like, you know, they were talking about it's going to be a great platform to make fun of Trump. And I was like, is this really where we're going? And you know I'm not a Trump fan, but it doesn't mean that I don't have
No, you're
respect
not.
for the office, you know? And so if that was the only reason you're bringing this back is just to hit on Trump, then, you know, I wanted to see their lives and, you know, where they are 20 years later. And then Deborah Messing at the Golden Globes going out there talking about inequality in the workplace for as far as monetarily
for men and
in
women.
payment. And I'm like, I get that. I get that for the chick that's working at Jumborito. You know, Deborah Messing, how many millions of dollars an episode are they paying her to come back and do this? There's no inequality.
Well, I mean, I get that she's
killing me,
advocating for
you know?
herself and for friends and whatever. I mean, I get that because
Right.
I mean, it's out there.
Yeah.
It's out there. I mean, I can't really
yeah.
speak to it because we're obviously not high-paid actors.
Yeah,
or
and
anything,
we're not
so-
making a dime on this thing. So sorry, Bri. Your your check's in the mail. So do we have a checking account?
We do.
We do. Do we have actual checks?
No.
No. Your check's in the mail. But
I get it. I
you know what I'm saying?
I think they kind of maybe overstep their platform.
Yeah.
Or they maybe advocate in a way that's it's too. It skews it. They're going the wrong. You know, I get that.
I
You
just
lose
don't
the
like
message.
when celebrities put themselves in a political place because I think they're too far removed from what we're dealing with. I really do.
But we just don't know what's going on in their world either, though. I mean,
Well, yeah.
we're
Well,
like, just, you're an actor, act. You know, we
and
don't care about your issues.
There was this issue that came out, and it was this. What was the movie? All for the Money or something. The one with Mark Wahlberg and
Michelle Williams.
Michelle Williams.
Mhm.
Okay. So the issue with that was that they had to do a reshoot because of Kevin Spacey, and Kevin Spacey gets, you know,
All that good stuff.
that's this issue. So Kevin Spacey gets booted from the movie. They actually have to reshoot all of his scenes. And what's funny was the guy that ends up going and redoing his scenes is that Kevin Spacey's part gets what, best supporting actor.
Oh, did
you
he?
know? Yeah. So they reshoot the thing. Michelle Williams gets like this basic hourly rate of like $60 an hour or something. It was I don't know exactly, but it was minuscule compared to what Mark Wahlberg got.
Right.
It was something like $3 million.
Right.
And they were saying they were screaming inequality in the workplace. Okay, that is not a workplace issue. They do not work for the same company. They are contracted to the same company.
Well, but
And
they
if
had the same. I think they talked about this either on one of the award shows that they have the same
manager. Yeah.
or scouting agent. Like they have the same people that hire them.
Right.
So it should be equal.
Yeah. So if
you
the
would think.
manager couldn't get her the same deal, that's not.
Then you need a new manager.
That's right. You need a new manager. But secondly, and she is an amazing actress. I've loved her. Like I loved her when she was younger, and I remember Dawson's Creek. You know,
She was in Halloween H2O.
Yeah, well, there you go. But she was in a lot bigger roles than that. I mean, like
Oh,
she
yeah.
was in like Brokeback Mountain and stuff like that, and man, she really gets me. She really hits at my heartstrings on her roles that she plays. But I'm wondering if it's also because it's contract based, it also goes off star power. And I don't think Michelle Williams' star power is as big as Mark Wahlberg's. So again, it's skewed. That's why it's on a contract base.
Well, but I appreciate what he did, though. He, in the midst of all this, I'm sure he got grief.
Mm-hmm.
But he decided to do the right thing, and he gave all the stuff to charity. So, I mean, in the end, it was all good.
He did. But so we went the long way around to say that
We
Deborah
did.
Messing is dropping the ball, and she's ticking me off. So, but yeah.
But if you like Megan Mullally, that's why I like to watch it.
So,
Spit on a positive note.
right. So what else is going on? No? Any
I
other
mean-
shows? Like we watch Santa Clarita Diet. We
Once I watches that,
love that show. I love
like.
my zombie stuff, man. Anything zombie I'm watching.
I don't do the horror parody. Is that what you call it, or satire?
Yeah, it's
Like
like
Cabin in the Woods. with
It's not
Chris-
quite like that. You have to
or
watch it.
even like Evil Dead, like the original one. That one's
You
still,
don't like Evil Dead?
I didn't say I didn't like it.
Brian, I'm going to need you to switch places with Justin.
I didn't say I didn't like it.
You haven't seen Evil Dead either?
See, what are you worried about
All
then?
right, turn off those lights. I'm shutting this whole thing down.
It's just I
Evil
don't
Dead,
like.
man.
If I watch a horror movie, I want to watch it for the seriousness and the fear it puts in me, not the laughter it puts in me.
Well, the original Evil Dead was pretty freaky.
Yeah,
at the
it was
time.
freaky. The freaky stuff was okay. It's just I didn't like, especially the second one.
Yeah.
The second one was
Well,
totally
the second
just-
one was kind of like
It was-
a parody of itself. It's almost
Yeah.
a remake of the original. Then they had the third one, Army of Darkness.
right.
But then they brought the show out. They've got Nat, or what's his name?
Ash versus
the
something
Evil Dead.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ash versus Evil Dead.
Love the show.
Has Lucy Lawless in it, I think.
I think it's hilarious. I love that show. I think they're doing a quality job with that. And it's got Lucy Lawless. It's got Xena, Warrior Princess in it. You know,
Well, if she was Xena, I'd watch it.
I know. My one of my childhood crushes. Love Xena.
And then I for some reason I can't really do Timothy Oliphant or whatever his name is.
Elefante?
Is it Elefante? I don't know what his name is.
Really?
Anyways,
Yeah.
the guy looks like Josh Jamel. I was getting
Yeah.
confused.
You don't like him?
I don't know.
Really?
I can't remember what what was he in? Where was it?
I loved that show too. It wasn't Lawless. It
No,
was,
he was in Scream, right? Wasn't he the one in Scream?
He was
the
in
boyfriend.
Scream. Yeah.
So I just can't. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's been in a couple other things too.
But
I'm just like
He did that one on FX. The
Justified.
Justified. That's
Yeah.
it. Loved Justified. You didn't like Justified?
I never got to watch it. Really.
You never really watched it.
No, I'm sure I'd like it. Though.
I think that was like the perfect role for him. He
Was
does great as a cowboy, and that's what he was. He was like a cow. He's like this guy from.
What?
He was a county sheriff. He was like a sheriff from Tennessee. So yeah.
I guess it makes sense.
Or
He was.
Marshall.
I think he was a sheriff in the Crazies.
Yeah. He does really good with those roles. He does pretty good with this one, and he's funny. He's actually pretty funny.
Is he?
Yeah. And what's weird is, I'm not a big fan of
Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore. So it's not that I don't like her. It just,
Yeah.
some of her movies I'm just like, 50 First Dates, loved it. Some of the other stuff.
E.T.
Yeah, you gotta love E.T. Yeah. So it's hit or miss with Drew Barrymore, but she does a really good job in it, and it's kind of like, I think it hits closer to home in this. I mean, it's funny and it's kind of a parody, but it's more of, so she becomes a zombie, but yet she has some control over it, and they're trying to figure out exactly what happened and what would happen if you were a suburban housewife that became a zombie. How would your husband handle it? How would your daughter handle it? They're trying to hide it from people, but
Right.
yet she's still got to feed. It's really odd.
Interesting
It's
how they do
very
that.
surreal. Yeah. So I like it. There's what I love about it is there's no political point to it. It's just funny. It's just ridiculous. So, but then you got to deal with the side which I think is very real and hits close to home. Is what does the husband do? How does the husband handle it? Psychologically. And does he support his wife in this zombie endeavor, or but and
kill
then
her.
then the daughter starts kind of acting out because there are issues happening at home.
Right.
So it feels almost very real. Like this could be a very
Realistic
scenario.
thing?
Yeah. So just like a major change has happened in the family. Okay.
Yeah.
The one thing is though that makes it funny is that her mom's a zombie. So yeah.
Well, Monte likes it. She still watches
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, I get into it. So anything else coming out?
I don't know.
Brian, what do you get into? He doesn't even know. I put him on the spot.
I know. He's like, you have to watch something.
I'm gonna sip my Jumborito.
You have to watch
iced tea.
something.
Well, for show-wise, I'm that guy who just watches anime.
Oh, are you serious? You're just watching anime
And
over
back
there?
to us.
Oh,
No.
okay. Right.
Did you finish Sherlock?
Okay. Also like Sherlock.
Sherlock's good.
Yeah, BBC.
I just hate the 2-year hiatus.
Yeah,
I know.
They're kind of weird
It's
on how
always
they do
2 years,
shows.
and it's like 3 or 4 episodes.
But
So-
they're worth it.
Oh, they're great.
I think for them it's harder because like a lot of their actors are like movie stars.
Mm-hmm.
Because like
Yep.
there's one Luther. No one likes to watch Luther with Idris
Oh, I
Elba,
love Luther.
and that one takes about just as long a time. But he's doing movies, so
Mm-hmm.
Cumberbatch is Doctor Strange. So I mean, I'm sure his time is busy
And
doing
he-
other things.
And they botched my what was that movie? The Stephen King book.
Oh, the Dark Tower.
The Dark Tower.
Once
Thank
I
you.
watched that, and it was okay, but I didn't get it. I didn't.
No, you haven't read the books either.
No.
And they did a horrible job of putting that out. It's like 8 books. 8 books that they're going to put into literally it was an hour and 35 minutes.
It just doesn't really make sense. They kind of like hurried it through.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I mean, the best part of that movie I liked was that
and they have the star power.
Yeah, they did. Had
They
Matthew McConaughey, I thought was really good as the villain.
Yeah.
But I like the allusion to Pennywise, and that was like my favorite part of the whole movie.
Oh yeah, well it's because in any one of the Stephen King's books, they're all in the same universe,
Right.
So things loop back to them.
Yeah.
So like, do you remember 11/22? Was it 11/22/63? No, Hulu did it with oh God, what is his name? He's in all the movies with Seth Rogen.
James Franco.
James Franco, yeah. So James Franco got on board with Hulu to do this, to recreate this novel about this guy that finds this hole in time in the back of this diner that allows him to go back to 3 years before the JFK assassination. And so they decide, short version, they decide that one of them is going to go back. He goes back, James Franco's character.
Right.
He goes back in time and lives in the past to build his way up to stop the assassination. And it's all based around the fact that we don't know if it was I'm losing names today. The guy that
guy that killed him.
Yeah, the guy that killed him.
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Lee
There
Harvey
you go.
Oswald. Thank you.
That's
I
a
am
hard name to
tired.
remember, though.
So no, we should know this one right off the bat. No, I just feel bad for me. I'm getting tired. So Lee Harvey Oswald, but it goes along with the whole conspiracy line. Like, we're pretty sure, but we're not sure. We're really not sure if he did it. So you can take this time to go back and figure out and just take all these clues and all these conspiracy books that were written, follow all these other people, all these generals and different people in the CIA, and find out if Lee Harvey Oswald really did it, if he was acting alone, if there really was another gunman on the grassy knoll. But really, you got like one shot because you're gonna have to be back there for 3 years. So, and it was a great book. It was one of my favorite reads in the last like 5 years. It was a great book. And then they did the series, the mini series. You should go watch it.
I'll have to watch that one. I'll have to add it to my list.
The case file should already be out as well, like the official government files for that.
Oh yeah, and they were releasing some files for the JF, but I think it's all blacked out.
It's
man.
all redacted.
Yeah, you know how it is. It's just like they take that black Sharpie and go.
Yeah, it's like the date and then blah blah blah.
It's like
blah.
the black white out is what it is, So
Like the Hillary Clinton emails, they're all redacted.
At the end, it's like just and the it. I think they take out and too, just so that you don't assume that they were talking about two different things.
It's like playing Mad Libs.
So, it's ridiculous. You will never know exactly what happened with that. But this is this has been one of my favorite books and one of my favorite just adaptations of that. It's hard to find a really good adaptation to a book, and I mean, like once in a while you get one. Ender's Game, they did a great job for me. I
haven't
love.
seen any of Is that the Maze Runner?
No.
Which one?
No,
the
Ender's Game. That came out probably about 5 or 6 years ago. It was
was that the one in space?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Harrison Ford was in it. Ender's Game is probably up there with like all time 10 favorite books of all time. Maybe top 5. Great read, not very long. Amazing. The other two books, if you've ever read this, you chime in on this. The other two books are awful. They have nothing to do with it. I mean, like they weren't like bad. It's just you were expecting something totally different. So
sometimes it's hard to match. You're talking about the sequels that came after it.
Yeah, it was almost
hard
like
to follow
he had
that.
written these, but they're not the same at all. Like if you watch Ender's Game, it's all about strategy and building up to fight these alien creatures from a different planet.
Yeah.
It was great for a kids movie, which is what they did, because it's all about these kids kind of interacting with each other and trying to learn how to battle and things like that. And when you get to it later on, it goes a totally different way. I mean, it goes a totally different way. So, but speaking of adaptations from books to movies, we actually have one big one coming out pretty soon. It's called Ready Player One. So.
Ooh. I think I've seen the previews for this one.
You what?
I've seen the previews for that one. Has the guy, what's his name? Is the guy from Hunger Games?
Hunger Games. I don't know.
Is it the same guy?
Him?
We're looking at you, Brian, like you're the
I know
IMDb expert.
Yeah, he's going to get on here. He's going to tell us who's starring there. All I don't know who the actor is. All I know is that the preview looks legit. It looks good. I want to go see this thing.
It's a weird concept of living in Did they say it was post-apocalyptic?
No, it's not. Well,
No,
it
kinda.
kind of is. It's like it's in the future, and it's pretty much that the entire world is overpopulated.
Okay.
So, like, they literally in the book, describe it as like we're just stacked on top of each other. So and it like trailers, like literally you'll go to a trailer park and trailers are stacked on top of each other. So,
but you're living essentially through. Sorry, Monse, I said essentially. She hates me when I say that word.
Essentially, Monse.
Basically,
right.
You're living through VR, right? Isn't that what it is?
So essentially, you are in the VR world, and that's what it is. Is like everybody's stacked on top of each other, but nobody really works in the real world. Everybody like works and lives their lives in VR. And yeah, so you go in there and you even go to school. Like, they depict him going to high school. Like, looks like a regular high school. Looks like, regular kids. You have your avatar that looks like you. You get a basic model when you go into the VR. And if you want and you have money or you make money in the virtual world, you build it up. So the VR world that they depict in the book, which is one of the coolest things I've ever heard. It's where you live your life, but it's also like a game. So you can go and do side quests just like you would, like if you were playing like Witcher or something like that. And you could just decide to go and do, it's infinite planets in this world. People build their own planets with with games and side missions and all kinds of stuff. Or you go to this one planet where your school is, some planet because you can't afford to teleport or get a vehicle that'll take you between worlds. But it's literally like living in an open world RPG.
So for those of us that may not have read the book because I haven't, what's like the actual, like what's the goal of the story? Yeah, like what's the...
Okay, so the plot of the movie is you have this guy that is essentially like a Bill Gates type character. Okay. That has been around since, he started really early on in the 80s designing computers and designing educational software. And then as he gets older, he's developing more and more and creates this, what they call the Oasis. And the Oasis is the VR world that eventually everybody becomes a part of. And he kind of creates this huge monster, if you will, in this thing, because now it's pretty much taken over. This is where everybody is. He's about to die, and before he dies, he sets it up so that whoever can find the Easter eggs that he has planted into that infinite VR world will gain control of his entire company. Okay. So, and it's all based off of his favorite things. Like you have to know, like they had to know like his favorite types of music and movies and shows, all this stuff from the 80s and early 90s. It's very cool. It just, the concept of it is very nostalgic. We talked about that recently on a show, how nostalgia sells. Okay, so, and the concept was, there was this game, and I forget the name of the game. You guys are going to kill me for it, but it was an original, one of the first computer games out there. And back then, they didn't show on the credits, they didn't show the creators, like who created the video game or anything like that. So in this one particular game, in real life, this creator had a secret room, and if you found the secret room, it showed his name in there, like created by whoever this game was. And so, I'm sorry?
Was it Doom?
No, it wasn't Doom. No, I'm talking way back when you needed a floppy disk.
I think it was
play.
Wolfenstein.
So it wasn't Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein?
No, I'm talking way back. Yeah,
Oh.
I'm talking early 80s kind of stuff. So you guys, it was The Witcher 2. Yeah, no. This was before they ever gave any credit. You just bought your cartridge. It may have been an early Atari game, to be quite honest. So I think it was. But he always liked the concept of an Easter egg, this character, okay? So he creates these Easter eggs, like a series of them. You have to find one to get the clue to the next one. And he just leaves it open, and then there's like a website in the VR that it shows the leaderboard, whoever's closest, to getting it. And so you've got all these people that are at that point, everybody becomes in this hunt for it.
Right.
It doesn't take long for a lot of people to drop out because they have no idea what they're looking for or what they're doing, and it spans years in the book before anybody starts to get a whiff of the first clue.
What to do?
Yeah. So, but it follows this one player who was already this guy, main character in his teenager, that was already obsessed with this guy and everything about him and really wanted to be him. And so he already has like a leg up.
Right.
All right. Then you've got the bad guy. okay, which is a group. There is one particular, antagonist
Character on there.
yeah, but they're kind of like, it's kind of like you're in the Matrix, and they're the
Agent
Mr.
Smiths.
Smiths. Yeah, and so you've got this one company that feels they should have a right to it, and I believe they're called the 101 or something like that. And their concept is that they believe they should have control of this entire company, and I'm talking billions of dollars. The richest company in the world,
Or the VR world.
Yeah, in the world. Yeah,
Oh,
in the VR world, the world,
in the
whatever.
world? Oh.
Yeah. So, and so they start sending in people with their avatars, with their company avatars, and they're like an army of Agent Smiths. And in the movie, there is an army. So, because there is not an army, but a war. There is a war between like the 101, like them, and then all the people that just regular people that have avatars that realize these guys are just trying to,
Take over.
yeah, trying to take over. Yeah. So
Interesting.
that's why in the movie, like in the trailer, you see like one guy, he's driving a DeLorean, which is the main character because he builds up enough money that he can actually buy a DeLorean for his avatar.
Right.
Okay. You've got you'll see like a Terminator type character. You'll see a guy that's like Freddy Krueger.
Right.
So these guys, just like we do today, they create their avatars and emulate them after their favorite pop culture icons.
characters.
Yeah. So, and if you get enough money, like it's hard to get up there, but if you get enough digital currency, then you can, just like if you were playing like World of Warcraft or something like that.
Do you play World of Warcraft, Brian?
You a WoW guy?
No,
No. He's like no to everything.
that's one game I try to stay away from.
But you understand that from an RPG level, building up your character, building up currency, trading stuff. Yeah. So, I mean, but imagine if you lived in that world, like literally could tap into it every day. You go to work, and then once you're done, if you want, you can get offline, or you can go right into, It's a really weird concept because at one point they explain him living in this little apartment, and he never leaves. He's just pretty much just like shaved into his entire body. He's just jacked into this fully immersive suit that he makes enough money to order. He gets meals delivered to his house morning, noon, and night. Which I don't think we're that far away from that already. That kind of concept of
I just picture
ordering.
people from like, what's that Disney movie? With the little white robot going around.
Like Wall-E.
Wall-E, yeah, like the fat people from Wall-E or Cartman off of South Park, where they're all just addicted to the games, and then they just become all these overweight people.
Well, see, it's kind of like one of these things where they used to say that cell phones were addictive. Okay. Now, if you're looking at something like cell phones from a sociological standpoint, there's a point where you break off from the word addiction and you look at norm. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like for our generation, it would be considered an addiction because we weren't used to having them when we were younger.
Right.
So what do you say for the generation that has them from the moment they come out of the womb?
I guess that's true.
We've got, a little nephew the other day, like 6 months, like on a freaking tablet, like just going
Just
through.
addicted.
Can't read anything, but knows the patterns,
Yeah.
understands the patterns of how to get to the music, how to get to the movies, how to get to the this and that. I mean, so this world concept is kind of like that this is just what it is. You go on there and you work, and you might be, they depict anything from people just working in a retail store almost, and you're buying stuff online, but somebody's there to help you out, to like a stripper, that's working in the. It's wild. It's really weird. You should read this book. This is one of the
Ready Player One, right?
amazingly entertaining book.
Ready Player One.
And then now they're bringing out the movie. Yeah, and you might have seen in the previews the Iron Giant.
I did.
Okay, so and that's part of it is like you can build up your avatar, and if you like get to a certain point, or you're incredibly gifted on the video game side, or you're extremely rich, then you can like buy robots and things like that. So that's where those kinds of things come in. So, but it's also like the reality is very real in the VR, because if you die, you don't die in the outside world, but you're everything you've ever built up
is gone.
It goes back to zero.
Well, I'd rather have that than like the Matrix stuff happen to me, or Surrogates where you're dead.
Oh, right. Exactly. Well, that's true. Where you
die
just
in the game, you die in real life.
Where you just kind of, like
exactly.
power down. Yeah. No, but it's like everything you've ever done is gone. You got to restart everything. So, yeah. It's intense. The book's intense. The movie looks like they've done a great adaptation, and you got the guy that's directing it, Steven Spielberg. So
Spielberg.
You can't go wrong with Steven Spielberg.
Did you ever find out the thing, Brian?
Well, for the
I think his last name was Hutchinson or something like that.
I was those things because I thought you made
It's-
thought about
It's
me.
PETA. I think his name is PETA, the character from.
Oh yeah.
But I didn't see him.
I think that's. His
No,
name.
I don't think he's in there. I thought
No,
if,
same
if
character.
you would have said Peter, I would have known.
Is it PETA?
Cast for Ready Player One. His name is
Ty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways.
he's going to be a younger guy. Peter's a little bit older now, but so I think a lot of people were upset that one of the problems was that the guy, what is this? Oh, the adventure game. The game was called Adventure, and it was on Atari. Yeah, where they had the first Easter egg hidden there.
Ooh.
So I think some people were upset when they first came out because the guy that's playing the main character is a very good-looking guy. In the book, he was an overweight, pimple-faced loner. So that that probably I think he kind of thinned out his avatar a little bit online to make himself a little bit more presentable.
That's catfishing. No.
Yeah, it's catfishing, right? So, but great book. I highly recommend the read before
Going to see the movie?
Yeah, I know because I don't know how bad the movie is going to be. I mean, it looks great, but I always feel like they ruin it for me.
I think books are just a hard thing to translate over. There's too much imagery in books that just doesn't translate over.
But if you do a good job and you do a book that's not like 8 books long, like they did with the Dark Tower,
Yeah.
I think you can get it done right.
Like
So,
Wrinkle in Time just came out, and some people are liking it, some people aren't liking it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's that same kind of.
Well, and I hear
problem.
complaints that it was like a Christian book and they took out all the Christian concepts. So
Yeah.
there's your, people
it's
are
by
going to get
Disney,
upset
so-
about that. Well, yeah,
They're
they
not
don't
gonna-
want to
they're not gonna
offend.
go there.
Nobody wants to offend anybody.
Yeah,
so.
they're not going to go there.
But yeah, Ready Player One's a great one. Right now I'm reading, what was it? John Dies in the End. So I'm trying to finish that book. You never seen that?
Mm-mm.
With Paul Giamatti, is in that.
Oh, is that?
It's
Okay, I think I've seen it.
totally odd. It was a major motion picture, but it was a little lower budget
Okay.
when they redid it. The book was written by the now editor-in-chief of Cracked magazine. It is
Okay.
totally ridiculous about these kind of like paranormal investigator guys that are. It's off the wall, man. It's next level ridiculous. Great read because I was reading some really serious stuff recently,
Yeah.
and I needed a break. I had to have a break, and so I had seen the movie. And this is the first one where I saw the movie, and I was like, I'm gonna go back and read the book after the fact, and I'm glad I am because they did a great job with the movie. But now there's like 2 or 3 books after it, and I've already gone ahead and bought the second book because I'm gonna start reading it after this. So I kind of hoped they would have done a sequel to that, but there wasn't enough money behind it. But I thought it was really cool that Paul Giamatti actually reached out to the guy that was yeah, and it was funny because like if you get the movie version of the book, like in the prologue, he explains what happened with the production of the movie. Yeah, and
That's cool.
how he was actually getting like emails from like Paul Giamatti and like these guys that wanted, and this director that did the original. It was the director from Phantasm that did the original Phantasm.
Uh-huh.
Who the guy that wrote this book was like a huge fan of his, like seriously huge fan of his, and he thought he was being kind of catfished by one of his fans
Asking him to do them.
yeah, like maybe he had mentioned it in a blog he did or something like that. Because this book was just a blog. This was just a blog that he had online, and he'd add on to it every few weeks or every few months and add on to the story. And then, and eventually, like somebody was like, "Hey, we need to make a book out of this," and so they got a hold of him, and he took it offline so they could
Make a
produce
book?
it, or publish it. And then this director, who he's been had a huge, fanboy crush on for years, is emailing
Wanting to
him,
make his movie?
and he's like just going delete,
Aw.
yeah, just thinking that
That
somebody's
sucks.
messing with him. Like, there's no way it's this guy. And then his manager actually had to get it and reach out to him. Like, he's been trying to get a hold of you, and they eventually went on and did the movie. Paul Giamatti heard about it, read the book, went crazy over it, and put a whole bunch of his own money in to help produce it too. So I was like, if it's good enough for him to do that, I want to see, because I like Paul Giamatti. I really respect him as an actor. So I wanted to see, and he was,
He was in that movie with Amanda Bynes and Frankie Muniz, where he's blue.
Are you serious? That's where you go out of all the movies you can pick out of. You go with, was it The Big Lie or
Big
something?
Lie or something like that.
Okay. I think that's actually where we're going to end the show. Justin has just ruined this for me. As always. We actually do. We're going to have to go. It's been fun. How are we doing out there? We got some viewers right now with us? Or are we just doing, we're doing this all on our own, I think, today.
Fine with me.
That's fine.
There's been a lot of Turkish people to come on.
Really?
A lot of Turkish people.
Like.
Okay.
Nice. Like I said, we get the weird.
Okay.
We get the weird ones, and we got Monse out there somewhere.
Yeah, Moss is still out there. Probably
Right.
Ashley too.
Right? Ashley's probably taking a nap right now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think we're gonna have to wrap it up there. We gotta clean up and get out. But I don't know. You gotta wrap it up. Do you have any ideas for a lesser of two evils, or should we just call it a show?
Lesser of two evils for this one.
Yeah. That's like our big thing at the end of the show. We always got to wrap it up with a lesser of two
I don't
evils.
know.
Why don't we wrap it up like this? What did you learn today?
I learned that Golden Girls is good to watch at any time,
Mm-hmm.
which I already knew that, but that's something to do.
Right.
I learned that Chris is not like Deborah Messing. And I learned that I need to maybe look into some books. I'm not really a big reader.
Yeah.
I read articles all the time, but like a book is just not. It's hard for me to get into. I don't know if it's because I'm a very visual person, but
Yeah.
you always have good books that you're reading.
For me, I tend to be visual. I think that's why I get away from it with the book, because then you got to keep working this. And if
Yeah.
I can create that visual myself, you know what I'm saying? So, and books are always better than the movies, man.
That's what they all say, but
Always.
I don't know.
That's why it's so hard to recreate Stephen King, because Stephen King's mind is so warped, and it's got so many layers on it. You know, that's
Right.
why they did the same thing with Anne Rice and like the Interview with the Vampire movies, and trying to do
Mhm.
like what was the other one they did, the Queen of the Damned?
Queen of the Damned.
One of the, oh my God, great series of books. Can't recreate it in a movie. They'll never be able to do it.
What? Aaliyah was awesome.
Aaliyah, I love Aaliyah. That was baby mama status right there when I was when I was in high school. Loved Aaliyah. Queen of the Damned, she was not. I'm sorry. So Queen of R&B, yeah,
There you
I'll
go.
give you that.
We'll give you that.
So I have learned that Justin actually didn't start watching Golden Girls as a child. He actually got into this when he got a little bit older, which is kind of sad. Sad but true. So
What?
yeah.
No.
No?
No.
You said you got into it when you were older.
No, I told you that I went over to
Yeah.
visit my grandmother one summer, and I was probably like 7.
Right.
What was it? It was 96 or so. So I was 8 or 9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was a
Okay.
kid.
Well, that's not bad. Okay.
And I didn't know that at the time it was actually on TV.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so by the time I actually started watching it like full blown, it was already in syndication, like on Lifetime.
When
and
did you
stuff.
start watching it full blown?
Probably like junior high. So
Okay.
it was another 2-3 years. 2 or 3
Okay.
years later.
So while everybody else is out there watching like South Park, you're
Nah,
in
I
junior
wasn't watching
high.
South Park or The
You're-
Real World. I'm
you're
watching
watching-
Golden Girls.
Yeah. Point made. I'm just gonna go there, Brian. Point made. Okay. Secondly, I learned that Brian doesn't read or watch TV. He watches anime like on an endless loop.
And plays PC games.
Yeah.
There is also one show I forgot to mention. It's called Riverdale. And it's
Oh, Riverdale.
On the CW.
I know. I've
Your
heard
favorite.
good things about it, but I'm gonna have to take your.
It's like a dark Archie Bunker.
I know at this point I'm like, I've cut off the CW. I can't do it anymore.
It's a good show. It's amazing.
Now, if
Riverdale.
they bring Buffy back,
Now that
he'll be back on the CW.
now we're talking. So bring back Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Bring back Angel.
Nah,
Yeah, you didn't like Angel?
no,
I liked Angel. Yeah.
no.
And who was the chick we were talking?
Eliza Dushku.
Oh yeah.
I say just bring back
buddy.
Buffy with all the original characters,
Right.
and then have some of the villains come back just like temporarily, and then
just kill them all off.
just come off
Hey,
again.
you said they're bringing out all your old shows again. Why can't they bring back Buffy?
I would be happy if they bring back Buffy.
I'm telling you, she hasn't done it. She hasn't acted in years. She's
Her and Freddie Prinze are just happy being parents.
Mm-hmm.
Leave them
Yeah.
be.
They're sitting at home right now eating popcorn, watching this, going, you know what?
She gets
They're
enough money
right.
from royalties anyway.
Hey, if you guys want to come back, you come on this show. We will recreate Buffy the Vampire Slayer right here in this
Get my
studio.
dagger out and
Right. All right. that's it from Hear No Evil. This is totally ridiculous. We're going to release an episode later tonight, so if you want to check that out, you can go to hearnoevilpodcast.com. You can also hit us up on social media.
We're at Hear No Evil Pod on Twitter, on Instagram, and it's Hear No Evil Podcast at Facebook.
And again, on your iTunes.
We're on Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio,
SoundCloud.
We're everywhere.
Everywhere. And we're being heard in it seems like almost every country in the world. We're getting
everywhere
there.
but Utah and Wyoming still.
Still got some issues.
What is up with that?
He's seriously upset about this.
And I have a friend that lives in Utah. Why aren't you listening, Krista? I'm naming you by name.
I don't know.
I'm going to message you after this.
Mormons don't like us.
Well, they should. We have nothing against them.
We got nothing against you, Mormons. So, all right, that's it. We thank you, and as always, we love you, and we'll see you next time on Hear No Evil.
Bye-bye. We might not really